So this is kind of this is a different angle in terms of last week's speaker. Obviously, Christian Isley was on the program, the RIASA program, but this week we've got a professional footballer who is Jimmy Quinn. I'm just going to give a little bit of an overview of Jimmy's career, and then we're going to start the questions really, and Jimmy's going to share his insights. So Jimmy, he was a Northern Ireland international, and he had 18 years in professional football at club level. So that's a long time. So some of them clubs were Blackburn Rovers, Reading, Bradford City, West Ham, Bournemouth, Leicester. So he's really had, some big names there in terms of clubs. Some facts for you as well. He managed to make 659 appearances, and he scored 232 club goals. Now that's unbelievable to be able to sort of play over 650 appearances at professional level. So hopefully he's got a lot of insight and experience that he can share with us. Something that did stand out for me was the 1993-94 Golden Boot Award that he won, which was with Reading, and he scored 40 goals in a calendar year, which at any level, conference, Sunday League, Division 2, etc., the Premier League, to score 40 goals in one season is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm sure we'll be asking more about that later on. Moving on to his international career. He made 46 appearances for Northern Ireland and he scored 12 goals. Some of them goals are really important. So they came in FIFA World Qualifiers, UEFA qualifiers as well. So again, that's an unbelievable experience. We're talking about the top level there in terms of Euro qualifiers and FIFA qualifiers. And just 46 times, again, that's unbelievable to be able to play for your country. We'll be asking him some questions about that. Moving on to his management, because he was a player and then he went into management. And from what I can tell, Jimmy spent over 19 years in club management. He'll probably correct me if I'm wrong, but he's had some great management roles in there, 8 different clubs. Some of them clubs, Reading, Swindon and Cambridge. So this is really quite a person here that we have, and hopefully you guys will get a lot out of Jimmy, because it's a different angle. He's got a lot of experiences, and there's some big stats in there. So we're really pleased to have him. So what I'm going to do now is, Jimmy, I've just done a brief overview, but it'd be great if you could sort of do an overview from your eyes, really, obviously, because you've sort of walked in your shoes, if that'd be good to start with.
Yeah, it's sort of jogged in my shoes. Yeah, I came out of non-league football. I played a little bit of Sunday League football. I actually didn't play football between the ages of 16 and 18. I moved up to South London to live with my brother, and I got a job working in Debenhams, and I was actually working every Saturday. So I didn't really get to play football for 2 years. So it wasn't until I moved up to Cheshire, moved up and lived with my sister Jean, and then I started playing Sunday League football, and it just in no time at all, it seemed that I progressed from like Sunday League football to what was the Mid Cheshire League, and then ended up playing for Oswestry Town in the Northern Premier. And at the time, the 2 big non-leagues were the Southern Premier and the Northern Premier. And I ended up at Oswestry. And I played with some very good players in the team, actually. There was John Roberts, who used to play at Arsenal. John was about 34 at the time. He was obviously at the end of his professional career, but he's still a good player. And there was a fellow called Jimmy Williams who had played a couple of games for Liverpool's first team, and it was a really good standard of football. And I was there probably about 6 months. I scored eight goals in 12 matches, and then I had about 6 or 7 league clubs after me. So that's how it started, really. It just it went so quick. And in 1981, I signed for December. I signed for Swindon Town. Do you want me to tell you how much I was on? First contract was £110 a week.
That's
But
amazing.
I was in the reserves to start with, obviously, because I come out of non-league and whatever. And I was getting used to full-time training and everything else. But after about 6 months, I got and managed to get into the first team, and never looked back really. I just started scoring a few goals, and that was it.
Yeah, amazing. That sounds like such a great story. So really interested in that early development stage. So you actually said you didn't play, was it between 18 and 20? You didn't actually play, is that right?
No, never played. I played down the park with a couple of friends now and again. That was the extent of it. I used to go and watch Crystal Palace during the week. If there was a game on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night, I used to go up and watch them. They had Kenny Sanson played for them at the time. They had some decent players. There was Peter Taylor was there. I've seen him play. They had a fellow up front who I really admired, Jeff Bourne. A lot of people remember Jeff, but I thought he was a fantastic centre forward. And when I could, I went up and watched them on a midweek.
Yeah. So after you start, when you got your break, really, what can you go through them steps in terms of what happened in terms of you were playing conference where you said?
Yeah, well, I was playing Sunday league football in the Crewe area.
Yeah.
But I used to go running every night, and I just thought I want to have try and have an advantage over other people. So, and even though we were playing on Sundays, I used to stay on Saturday night, and I used to live to watch Match of the Day at the time. There was a lot of decent teams about Liverpool and all that. They were a fantastic team around that period. I used to love watching them on the telly. Mm-hmm. Most of my other mates in the Sunday league team, they were out on a Saturday night on the beer and that. So it was just discipline, really. I stayed in, and I didn't go out drinking. I used to go running every night, and I just wanted to give myself as best a chance. And I always had aspirations of being a professional. And I think for young people listening, if you practice something long enough, or you focus long enough on wanting to achieve something, I think you'll get there in the end if you keep at it. I just think, particularly these days, I think too many people give up too easy. But I just remember back, and I used to go out running in all weathers. It could be snowing, raining. I'll be chasing cars to the next lamppost. That's an interesting one, because I read Brian Clough's book, and when he came through as a kid, he used to do the same. I was sitting having a laugh to myself, because that's what I did. You used to see a car come and you try to beat it to the next lamppost, sort of thing. But it was just little things like that. And when I look back, you think, well, yeah, I probably deserved a chance to become a professional because of the things I was doing, the things I was giving up. And trying to keep a bit fitter than other people and whatever. But I have to say, when I eventually did sign for Swindon, I went down and had a trial match beforehand, and they signed me straight after the game. But I still had a lot to learn. It was a massive adjustment, training full time to it was like probably training just once a week and playing at the weekend.
Yeah. So was it? How did it come about though? Was it like? Was you scouted, or was you just scoring loads of goals in the conference? Did your name stick out? How did it actually, the steps in terms of from the conference to Swindon? What was involved with that, really?
Well, I actually started off as a left winger,
right?
And then within like a year, I shot up from being probably about 5'4" to 6'2".
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, I was instead of playing on the left wing, I was stuck up front. And a nice story is when I signed for Oswestry, the manager at the time was Fred Morris. Now Fred was an old player that played for Liverpool. he was a robust winger. He's one of them that he could probably head the ball as far as he could kick it, as rough as a rough old diamond, you know. And he used to say to me, he said, listen, he said, every game, he says, there's one job I want you to do at the start of every game. He said, the first cross comes into their box. He says, I want you to put the keeper in the back of the net. And that's exactly what I did. So the first cross came in the game. I used to go in, I forgot about the ball, and I used to like slam into the keeper. I got booked a couple of times, to be fair, but, you know, I knocked the keeper out of the way. And then, of course, if another cross came in after that, the keeper had a tendency to probably stay on the line. So I ended up scoring a couple of decent headers and that. But yeah, that was a job he gave me, that I had to put the keeper in the back of the net off the first cross. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing. So it'd be great if you could just share some of your standout career moments. So kind of your best moments that you've obviously, like I said, I kind of reeled them off at the start, but you must have some really good moments in your book, really.
Yeah, there's obviously, you know, realizing that you know, you've achieved your dream to become a professional coming out of non-league, and obviously making your debut. I made my debut. I come on a sub, I think, against Walsall when I was at Swindon, and I didn't really touch the ball much, but it was just a massive game. But I mean, obviously, there's that making your debut in professional football, and then, you know, my first. I remember my first game for Northern Ireland. It was a friendly against Israel, and I was playing up front with Norman Whiteside. Yeah. You know, and just to be playing, I mean, Norman was younger than me. I think he's 5 or 6 years younger than me. But I mean, at the time, Norman Whiteside was a massive player in football. You know, he scored in the FA Cup final and Manchester United, and just to be playing with him, you know, you got to like smack yourself to wake yourself up. You can't believe it, you know. Yeah. And it was that emotional for me, because on top of that, I hadn't been home. I left Northern Ireland because of the Troubles in 1971, and I didn't go back until 1983. And then, of course, Billy Bingham, our great manager at the time, he arranged a friendly against Israel at Windsor Park, and I was picked to play up front with Norman. So it was just the whole thing. And on top of that, schoolboy's dream, I scored the first goal of the game, and my first goal on my debut as well. And after the you know, on the game, but just the emotions of playing for your country, and you know, your family and your friends and everything it means to everybody. It was a lot to take in. And I have to say, I you know, had a tear in my eye. It was a very emotional night, you know, to be not only playing, but some of the players I was playing with, you know, Pat Jennings in goal, people like that, and playing up front with Big Norman and scoring a goal as well. And we won the game 3-0, which was the icing on the cake.
Amazing, yeah. Is there anything in the managerial side, you know, your stint in, you know, doing all of the managerial roles, that stands out as well as a highlight?
Yeah, I mean, I took 3 teams to playoff finals. You know, I took over from me and Mick Gooding took over from Mark McGee at Reading. We ended up in the playoff final. We were 7th in the league when Mark left. He took the Leicester job, and to be honest with you, I was like a fish up a tree. Hadn't got any coaching qualifications at the time. And me and Mick Gooding were in a similar boat. We were just senior players that everybody looked up to, and we were given the job. And if you asked me to do, if I would have done it again, I'd have said no without a shadow of a doubt, because it was just from playing to going into management is a totally different ball game. You know, when you play, you just look after yourself. You make sure that you're at a level of fitness and you're getting your rest in. But when you're a manager, you're just thinking about everything else and everybody else, and you've got so much to deal with, you know, with the board and the media. the fans, the players, collectively and as individuals. It was such a hard job, but we managed to get, as I said, Mark left when we were 7th in the league, and we managed to get to the playoff final. And unfortunately, we were beat, and probably people say it was probably one of the best playoff games at Wembley. It ended up 4-3 after extra time, and we got pipped at the post by Bolton Wanderers. But that was it was enjoyable and tough, and we ended up getting the job. But as I say, I had no qualifications at the time, and whilst we were managing and coaching, we had to go and do our prelim badge, and then we'd done the B license, and then I ended up doing the A license, and then the pro license beyond that. I think I was one of the first ones to get the pro license in 98, I think it was, 99. But the stuff I learned on there, as opposed to when I first took over Reading, was immense. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing,
Amazing, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just going to ask you now to share some career lows, really, in terms of, the bad times and how you manage them. If there's anything that stands out, we spoke about the highs, but footballers have a lot of lows, don't they? And it's how you guide yourself through them situations that makes you stronger, really.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I never, because I come out of non-league football, I didn't really have many lows.
Right, okay.
I enjoyed every single club I played at. When you talk of lows, you're probably low when you pick up an injury. And in 1986, I was in the Northern Ireland team and played in all the World Cup qualifiers and scored a few important goals along the way, which actually got us there. I scored the only goal in Romania, and they had Hadji playing at the time.
Yeah.
I hadn't been beat at home for 5 years, and I scored the only goal of the game. We won 1-0. And that more or less qualified us for the Mexico World Cup finals. So at the time, I was absolutely flying. I was about 25, I think. And I was as fit as I could be. I was scoring goals for club and country at the time. And it was all set up for me. But unfortunately, I got injured in training in Albuquerque before we went to Mexico. We had a practice game one day, and I just made a run up the channel, and my foot just went from underneath me, and I ended up with tendonitis.
Oh no!
Coming out, it's a tendon that comes out your big toe, goes right through the middle of your foot. But it was like somebody was sticking a hot poker in my foot, and I couldn't put any weight on it at all. So from being sort of a regular in the team, really looking forward to the World Cup finals, I ended up sitting it out and watching the game. So that without a doubt is the biggest low in my career. But all the club football, I have to say, I enjoyed every single minute of it. Yeah. I loved it at Bradford City when I played with Mark. In fact, I scored the winning goal, Mark, if you can remember, against West Ham. And it was 2 weeks after that, Terry Yorth came to me and he said that West Ham wanted to sign me. And I said, I don't want to go. I want to stay here. I loved it at Bradford. And he was having a problem at the time with the chairman, Jack Tordoff, I think. Yeah. At the time, and he said, "Listen," he said, "I don't think I'll be here long. Get yourself out." But I loved it at Bradford. I loved the people. I loved the lads I was playing with, apart from Mark. No, great bunch. We had great fun, didn't we, Mark?
Yeah,
we had good players. We had lads that were, there was a lot of character in the team, and I didn't want to move. I just didn't want to move. And then what clinched it was, as I said, Terry said that he wouldn't be there long, and he wasn't. I think he left 2 weeks after that. But Lou McCarry rang me up, and I said to Lou on the phone, I said, I played for Lou at Swindon. I knew what he was all about. Good manager, puts good teams together, not in. And I said, I don't want to move again. I've moved 2 or 3 times. I said, and I was settled in Bradford. I loved the area. I loved the people. The fans were great to me. I managed to knock a few goals in along the way, and everything was good, And the thought of, moving house again and all that business, I just thought, no. But, he said, listen, he says, you'll be here, you'll come down here, score a few goals, the fans will love you. You know, he said, if you need any time off and all that, I'll play along with you. Just let me know, give us a shout and whatever. And in the end, you know, I really enjoyed playing for Terry Yorth, and Norman Hunter, incidentally, was the assistant, wasn't he, Mark?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Great fella.
the lads won't remember him, but
Top
yeah,
man.
these were like top players. But the lads, obviously, the boys won't remember him. But yeah, it's a bit like comparing Norman and you know, and Terry's like comparing the top internationals now, isn't it?
Yeah, they were top people, and you know, Terry was a great guy. In fact, I was very surprised that he did. I mean, he got the Welsh job, I think, but I don't know what happened there. But very surprised that he didn't go on to, you know, manage a big first division club at the time. But in the end, I ended up going to West Ham, and I enjoyed myself there as well. I scored a few goals, and I think I scored 24 and 51 matches. And
yeah,
you know, I'll go back these days as an ambassador, and people remember me playing, which is nice, because when you get to my age, there's not many people remember you. But yeah, that was the scenario at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Cheers for sharing that. I think it'd be great if you could just kind of share how you see our current students making, like, what they can do in terms of to try and make it professional, really, in terms of getting a contract somewhere, whether that be England, in the States, in Europe. Kind of what can they do really to succeed?
Well, the biggest thing is you know, Mark will tell you, it's self-motivation, because you get criticised from all angles in football. You know, whether you're good enough and that, and if you doubt yourself in any way, you'll never make it. You've really got to have that belief in your own ability. Yeah. And if you haven't got that, it's going to be a struggle for you. But you've got to also have a work ethic where you need to be disciplined. You need to not give up. You know, experience. You can look at experience in different ways. I just feel that experience. You know, you can have good experience and bad experience, but you know, all experience. One thing it teaches you is never to give up. You know, you may fail at times, but it's about picking yourself up and getting on. I mean, I remember when I was 18, 19, I went on trial to Sheffield United, and the great Martin Peters was the manager at the time. And I had a week there, and I played a couple of games, and I thought I'd done okay, but they didn't take me on. And I could have, at the time, turned around and thought, well, it's not for me. I'm not going to make it, whatever. But I went out and I started doing a bit more work. I thought, well, I'm not giving up on it. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to do a bit more running. I'm going to do my press ups, get a bit stronger, try and you know, keep going to see if you know, I get another chance, and eventually I did. And I think, you know, that belief in yourself and that you know, work ethic, you know, practice makes perfect. You know, if you work at something long enough, you'll be good at it. But it's just having that discipline to give up things, because young players in particular, they've got so much to go through. I mean, when they're small, the main influence is the parents, and then obviously you get coaches coming on the scene, and then they get girlfriends and all that sort of thing. And it's whether or not they've got the discipline to give those things up, to focus on what they want to achieve, you know.
Yeah.
And you can only do it if you do that. You can't have the best of both worlds. You really have to focus on the one thing. If you know, and I used to watch football all the time, and I used to love watching the older players and people like Joe Jordan, and they were heroes of mine, you know. And I used to watch them, you know, the way they held the ball up and stuff, and you just try and emulate people like that. And one thing you do know is that when you hear, if you read books about these players, they will tell you the same thing. It's about hard work and endurance and that self-motivation that you need to succeed.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so just going to ask you some more questions really about the guidance in terms of what our current students can do. It'd be great if you could name some things that our players should be able to do to try and play as high as they can. So obviously one would be like the work ethic, but is there other things as well as part of maybe the playing style, the behaviours that they can do to kind of help them on their way?
Yeah, it obviously depends on the position you're playing in. Obviously, ability is a massive thing.
Yeah.
You know, and but the good thing about it, if you're not so good at on the ability side, you can. I mean, I played with a lad at Swindon, Charlie Henry, and Charlie couldn't chop a bag of cement. But I tell you what, he worked his socks off, you know, and he was always first on the team sheet. He couldn't control the ball, you know. But to play at the highest level, you obviously need to have the ability. You need to have a good touch. You need to have awareness about you. You need to have speed. And when I talk about speed, I don't mean I was never quick as a player. I mean, Mark was quick. He was obviously a winger, but I was never quick as a player, but I was a quick thinker. You know, if you can think quick and think, you know, a move ahead or a couple of moves ahead, you know, about getting in position or about getting into space to receive the ball, and you obviously need agility, and you need to be a team player. And to be a team player, you need to, you know, obviously not only do your own job well, but you need to help other people within the team. That's very important, I think. But yeah, you need all these things. You need, you know, if I was, you know, looking for players or scouting for players, you need to do a good deal of background on them, on their ability and their awareness and everything else, what the family background is, what the, you know, whether they're willing to learn or not. You know, some people learn at different rates. You know, some people pick stuff up quickly. Other people's, you know, they take a bit longer. But and as a coach or a manager, you need to identify that and be able to coach them and bring them along. You know, but yeah, you need to, particularly to play international football. It's a different thing altogether. Even the Premier League, I'd say, it's a different thing. It's just something that you know. When I was lucky, I scored on my debut, but I had a few games in the international team that I felt completely lost. You know.
Yeah.
And it's just you know, some of the when you play a decent team, you look at. I remember playing against France. And Michel Platini was playing. I've never seen anything like it. What a player. And I probably didn't touch the ball the whole time I was on the park. I was that much in awe of watching him and watching. They had people like Tigana and Jures and the way they moved the ball. And I mean, Platini was just, people say he was the best player that you've seen playing. And he was the best player I've seen without a shadow of a doubt. And he was at the peak of his form at the time as well. And he just glided across the surface, and you think, well, how did he do that? Or, you know, how can you be like that? You know, but that's how you learn. You know, if you've got to watch better players and pick up things, and it's brilliant these days. A lot different to when I come through as a player. Me and Mark. You know, the internet's a wonderful thing. You can get information on everything and anything, can't you? So there's a lot there to help young people, you know, to achieve their goals. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I think I've got one last comment, and then we'll kind of open it up to question and answers, an answering session from our current students. I think for me, it's a great story that you've told there, really, in terms of how it all started for you in terms of the conference and that. I think there's a massive stigma around people and players in particular. They're thinking that playing at that level or playing at Sunday League, it's not good enough. But what can you share about that, really, in terms of, I personally think myself, if you want to be a footballer, you should try and get out there and do whatever you can at whatever sort of level you can. And, you know, there's always opportunities, isn't there? I don't know if you can shed any light on that, really.
Yeah, particularly these days, if you, it's very difficult. It's all about levels. You know, you might not get a chance to go straight in at the top level, but if you set your sights a little bit lower, maybe, you know, you can get trials at most clubs. You know, if anybody's got aspirations of, you know, being a professional, you can ring up clubs and ask if they've got any trial dates available where you could come in they could have a look at you. Depends how confident you are and the ability that you've got. Most people will, send scouts to watch you and whatever. But as I say, I started from next to nothing. As I say, I never worked between 16 and 18, but I just had a belief that I wanted to be a footballer. I wanted to play football, and that was all born through watching decent teams on Match of the Day, and I just thought that's what I want to be. And then you've got to think, well, how do I get there? What vessels do I need to get there? And you need to be focused. You need to get as much information as you can to do the right things to get to a level of fitness. A lot of people go on trials. I mean, I managed quite a few clubs, and we had loads. I always took people in on trials and all that. But what I found was that when they got an opportunity to play in a game that we'd set up, they probably tried to do too much. It's about keeping it simple. It's about doing the simple things good. And too many people go on trial and they try to beat 4 or 5 people and score a worldly top corner. It's never going to happen. Particularly when you're playing. If you're coming in as a non-league player and you're playing against professionals, you just got to keep it neat and tidy and keep it as simple as you can. You look a far better player. It's somebody said that it's only players that complicate football, and they're right. It's you don't want to take the flair out of people, but when you're going on trial and stuff, just keep your game simple. Make sure that you're a good level of fitness, and make sure that you've got this air of confidence about you. You can't really sort of do that sort of thing if you haven't got the confidence in yourself.
Perfect. Well, yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. What we're going to do now is we're going to open it up to questions from our students. So again, like we did last week, if anyone has a question, unmute yourself and basically ask Jimmy. This is Jimmy's a tool for you really to kind of get what you want out of this session. So
Jimmy, can I ask first one? So I didn't realise you came in football that way. So when you signed for Swindon, you'd be about 21, 22-year-old then. Is that right?
Yeah, 21, yeah.
21. Yes, yeah. I think a lot of lads feel when they get past 20, it's too old and there's nowhere for them to play. But like you said, there's so many different levels these days. There's always somewhere you play at the highest level you can, don't you? And 21, 22, 23, it's not too old, is it?
No, it's not. There was a centre forward. He signed professional when he was 28. Can't remember his name now.
Look at Mark. He's 34 and he's playing for Crawley.
No, there's a few players over the years, and they're sort of mid-20s to late 20s.
Yeah.
If you want to do something, you'll eventually get there if you keep at it. But no, it's not too old at all. I mean, I was fortunate that I had about 6 clubs after me, and I scored 8 goals in 12 matches at Oswestry. Derby County, Leeds United were mentioned, but Fred Morris, the manager of Oswestry, he knew the chief scout at Swindon, so that's why I ended up going down for a trial match at Swindon. Yeah, not to say they signed me straight after the game, but from not sort of playing for 2 years and then just going out and doing extra work and having that belief in yourself, I think if you want to do something, you'll get a chance.
Do you think that can still happen these days?
No for an answer. The bottom line is, Mark, don't take no for an answer. You may get the knockback at a couple of clubs, but try some other clubs. Try whatever you can. And if you do that, I'm sure that you'll get a chance.
Yeah, good.
Thanks for the question, Mark.
Worries.
Anyone else for a question?
Don't be shy, boys. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I have a question. So you played for so long, it was like 20 years, right? Your playing career. What do you think helped you continue playing at a high level like that, the longevity of your career?
Well, first and foremost, apart from having the ability and confidence in yourself, you've got to love what you're doing. And I just love football. You know, I played long after I left Bradford. I was 39 years old, and I played at Peterborough United for Barry Fry. I got the sack. I managed Swindon, and the second year I got the sack. That's one thing that's always certain. If you're a manager, you're always going to get the sack. And the first person to pick the phone up to me was Barry Fry, and he said, "I want you up here to play." You know, and I wasn't sure. I thought, well, I'm a bit too old now and whatever. But I went up there. I was 39 years old. I ended up leading goal scorer. I scored 25 for Peterborough. I got the Player of the Year, and I also got in the PFA team, and I was 39. So that kind of tells you the love that I had for football. I just loved playing football, and I love playing for fans. I love playing in front of fans. You know, the fans are the life soul of the game, and you know, to get people shouting your name and clapping you, it's what I buzzed off. You know, I mean, that year at Reading, I scored 40 goals at Reading. I scored 4 internationals. Everything I hit went in at all levels. But the fans were unbelievable. They'd sing a song, the Mighty Quinn song, before every game, and every time I scored, the ground was in uproar. It was just fantastic. You know, I just love football. I just love play. I have to say, I love playing it more than I did managing. You know, it's a poor substitution, but there's nothing beats playing, that's for sure.
Because some players, Jimmy, sorry, I won't ask any more after this, but I played with lads who played purely for the money. They didn't even like football. I wasn't like that. I love football as well. Whereas some, I'm sure you've played with them as well. They played just because it's a job. And then when they finish, they completely wash their hands of it. Whereas I love watching the lads and everything, yeah.
I played with a couple of people like that.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable. They couldn't even tell you who was playing or who they were playing against or whatever. They were just literally picking the money up. There's one thing for sure, Mark. I didn't play for the money, mate. I didn't.
Yeah, it's a nice story because, you know, I'm like that. I watch loads of games. I love watching the students play more than anyone else. And, you know, I played because I love football. I wasn't even bothered about the money, you know, so it's just interesting you're saying that, because if you're doing something you love, then it helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't about the money. I could have earned a lot more money in my career, but I never had an agent. I don't know if they offered me whatever. I'd say, if I thought it was fair, but I could have got a lot more. I was leading goal scorer at Swindon, 1987-80. I scored 31 goals at Swindon in what would be the championship, and I was on 235 quid.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just amazing when you think about that, you know. So it wasn't about the money. And I was playing with people like Chris Kamar at the time, and Chris was on bloody probably treble what I was on.
Yeah.
No, I just love football. Love playing it. Yeah.
Perfect. Anyone else? Any questions for Jimmy?
I have a question. So, like, what tips would you have for like players from the U.S. who are obviously playing overseas, like us, who didn't really grow up playing through the football system and just trying to get our name out there?
Well, we had when I was at Reading as a player, we had a player come from the States from a college team, I think it was. It ended up being probably one of the best players that Reading have ever had, Shaka Hislop. And Shaka went on to play. He was from Trinidad and Tobago. Not only was he, a fantastic person, a nice man, but what a great player. And he come out of the college system in America. But I don't think it matters one iota where you come from. If you've got a belief in yourself and you love playing football, and you've got a certain amount of ability, there's no reason whatsoever where you come from why you can't make it. But you've got to be able to take knockbacks. You know, you learn by experience. You know, you just learn to pick yourself up and carry on. I think what happens is that you think, well, I'm not good enough. If you go on trial and you get turned down the first time, you just think, well, oh no, that's enough for me. But don't give up. Just keep going. You'll get there. You know, if you've got the basic skills and you're young and you're fit, you know, it's all about learning. you know, and I think particularly these days, coaches at every level are all pretty much qualified and can bring your game on and bring you on as both a footballer and as a person. And I think you know if you keep focused on what you want to achieve, you'll certainly get there.
Amazing.
I have a question as well. I wanted to ask, like, apart from obviously share like ability and what you do on a football pitch, is there like certain things that maybe as a manager or just being a pro, like you saw that there was always certain like characteristics or traits that special players had? Like, would you say there are certain things that like any manager would be like, okay, this player, like, do you know what I mean, could be a professional or something? Like, is there something that you would say would stand out about every player?
In the makeup of a team, a football team, whether it's non-league or professional, you need certain types of players. You can't have flair players for your team. You need workers. You need workers in certain positions. You need people that can win the ball and give it to other people. You need a goal scorer. You need people that's going to keep the ball out of the net. Good defenders that can tackle. There's all different aspects to it, and you know, and that's why it's. You know, there's opportunities there for anybody. You don't have to be a world beater. You don't have to be at you know a 30 goal a season striker. You know, you can be a midfield player that wins the ball and gives it to somebody else. You know, you've got to have different types of players to make up a good team. You know, and you'll find that most of the teams, you know, even in the Premier League, have got workman-like players in certain positions that the manager always puts first on the team sheet. You don't have to be a Paul Gascoigne. You don't have to be a George Best. You know, you can be a hard-working, disciplined, professional footballer that is strong and quick, agile, that can take on information and do a job in a certain position. So there's an opportunity there for anybody to be able to play in a professional team. You don't have to. It's not all about how much skill you've got. It's about how much awareness you've got, how much know-how you've got, and whether you can do a particular job within the team framework.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Ken. Anyone else? Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. I was just wondering, like, you played at so many different levels, like from conference to, you know, high level professional leagues in England. And like, I was just wondering, how did you make that sort of step up, and what helped you the most in making, you know, that step up from league to league to league?
Well, when I became a manager, I'd see a young lad walking down the corridor in the football club. And just as a little joke or whatever you want to call it, I used to say to him, pull him and say, who's the best player in the club? And the player would turn around and give me somebody else's name. They'd say, oh, Jimmy Quinn, the centre forward, he scores all the goals. And I said, no, you are. You're the best player in the club. And unless you think that, it's going to be a hard struggle for you. You've got to believe that you're good enough and you're the best player, you're going to be the best player in the team. You've got to truly believe that. And if you do, the sky's your limit. Because once you get that belief in you, you know, and we've all got to start somewhere. You know, I started off in Swindon Town Reserves, and I had to wait probably 6 months to get in the first team. But I thought, when I get in the first team, I'm going to be a regular. I'm going to stay in it. I'm going to score the goals. And I remember we played, I think it was Kettering Town in the FA Cup. Now, the FA Cup was the same in them days as they are these days, where, you know, when a league club plays a non-league club, it's always a really tough game because you're on a hiding to nothing. You know, the non-league club's got absolutely nothing to lose, and certainly 9 times out of 10, they raise the game to a level where they make it very difficult. Sometimes they beat you. But we beat Kettering 7-0, and that was one of the first games I played, and I scored the first 2 goals of the game. And because of that just seemed to give me the confidence to, yeah, I deserve my place in this team, and I want to stay there, you know. But you've got to truly believe that you're worthy of playing in somebody's first team, whatever the level is.
Just another one quickly. How important do you think, especially nowadays? I don't think many players like tap into this, and is the mentality side of the game. They all focus on the physical side of the game, like staying fit, getting fit, and the technical side of the game. But how important do you really think the mental side of the game is?
It's massive. It's massive in everything. The mental. I mean, they're bringing mental health into play mostly the last few years, but there's always been an issue with mental health. I think everybody that's alive suffers from mental health problems, but it's how you deal with it and how you pick yourself up. I've had done in my times. I've had a few relationships that have gone wrong. You feel rotten, that, but you got to pick yourself up. You've got to focus on what you want to do, and it's too easy to dig a hole for yourself and jump in it. You've got to get on with it, and you've got to believe in yourself. And you will get setbacks. Young players, I think the biggest thing when I was, I haven't managed to coach for a while now, but the biggest thing I felt was that they found it really hard dealing with any sort of criticism. But that's part and parcel of football. If you're able to deal with criticism and take it for what it is and say, well, yeah, the manager's had a go at me, or the fans have booed me, or whatever, and you think, well, okay, well, I'm going to show them. I'm going to do better. But you mustn't go the other way and think, no, it's the end of the world. He doesn't like me, or whatever. I wasn't like that. I've had an issue with the manager. I used to go on, rightly or wrongly, I used to knock on his door and ask what the problem is. Sometimes I got told, well, you're just a bit unlucky, or Jimmy, you're playing rubbish. That's why you're left out of the team. But at least you know. And I think when you're talking about mental health, I think the best thing is to talk about it. Talk about it with whether a coach or a manager or another player. If you're suffering with confidence, go and talk to people, because a problem shared is a problem halved, isn't it? So that's the best advice I give you. Don't let things get to you as much, because the world we live in today, everybody can criticize you for anything. You've just got to get on with it. There's everybody's an expert, but are they? What you've got to do is judge that for yourself. How much of an expert they are, and certainly, one thing I have to say I never had. If I was a young player coming through today, I'd certainly go out of my way to look to try and get a mentor of some sort, whether it be. Doesn't have to be somebody in football. It could be a family member. It could be a good friend, and that. I tended to do a lot of stuff on my own and try to deal with it myself. But if I was coming through the ranks today, certainly I would have try and find something to back me up, and that was able to make me see things in the right way, and give me a bit more confidence to solve problems.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on the mentor side of things as well. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Thanks, Callum. Thanks, Jimmy. Anyone else have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Jonathan, go on.
Jimmy, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, there's one thing that I've just I've written a book. I haven't got it published yet because it's on a bit of hold because of this pandemic. But there's one thing that I would have done different in my career. And Mark will tell you, and he'll back me up on this. When we played, there was a drinking culture. Now, I as you heard earlier, I got 46 caps for Northern Ireland. But the interesting thing was, when I was at West Ham for the 2 years I played there, I never got picked for the Northern Ireland team once. And looking back, I understand why, because we're just on the drink all the time. We played hard, and we were out on the, drinking hard after it. That was probably one thing. Lou Macari got the he had this court case going on at the time. He ended up leaving West Ham, and Billy Bonds took over. And Billy was just as straight as a die. If you'd done the business, you were in the team. If you didn't do the business, he left you out. I was in and out of the team and whatever. But I'm quite sure at the time that Billy Bingham was probably ringing Billy and asking his opinion on me, how I was doing, whatever. And I don't think Billy was going to tell him anything other than the truth. He probably found out that me and a couple of other lads were out on having a few drinks best part of the time after games and whatever, and that probably went against me. So if I was to have certainly changed some things in my career, that would be the major one. I'd still go out and have a drink, enjoy myself, but we were at it all the time. We were out during the week. I could tell you a couple of stories. It would take too long, and I'd driving home in my car when I've had too many to drink and all that. It was just ridiculous. But that was the big thing. And I look back now and I thought, well, I should have been better than that. I should have been more disciplined. But that was the culture at the time. I mean, these days you hardly. I'm not saying the players don't drink, but there's not many players bars like they used to have. I mean, we used to fall out of the players bar at Bradford, didn't we, Mark? After the game, you'd have a few beers because you hadn't drank all week and you'd played, and you had a few beers and all that. And but that's the way it was then. I used to knock about with Julian Dix at West Ham, and he was an alcoholic as well. A brilliant player, but we all loved to drink and perhaps done it far too much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've probably got about 10 minutes left. So if there's any other questions, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, I got a question. So I know you talked about there was a lot of different clubs you played for, but which club did you feel like you had the best experience at? And what was it about that experience that made you enjoy it more than the others?
Well, I really enjoyed my time at West Ham, but the club I had the best time at, without a doubt, was Reading, because I scored a lot of goals. I scored 94 goals in 180 games or something like that, And Mark will tell you, sometimes as a player you can be in the zone, what they call being in the zone, and I just knew, before I even took the field of play, that I was going to have an influence on the game, whether it be scoring a goal or setting one up or whatever. Most of the time I was scoring them. Everything I hit just seemed to go in. I was voted there 2 years ago the best striker of the last 35 years or something, which when you think, Reading have been in the Premier League for 3 of those years, and I was voted the best striker by an opinion, a fan poll. So, it's just, had such a great time there. And I played obviously at Elm Park, which is the old stadium. And there was just an atmosphere there that was just electric. And everybody connected with the club, from the manager, the coaching staff, to the tea lady. Everybody was pulling the same way. And there's so many nice people working at that club. And it was the success we had over a period of 2 or 3 years was absolutely fantastic. But the reason behind that is because there was so many good people, not only on the playing side, but obviously the people running the club at the time, and even to the doorman. Interesting one is that my best friend Roger Higgs, he used to come to the games. Now Roger's a big QPR fan, and I remember going to the door, and every now and again you used to have a different sort of security guy on the door. And I remember going to the door a couple of times with Roger, and the security guy let him in. He was more famous at Elm Park than I was, and they were asking me for my ID, and I was the manager at the time. So, yeah, it was just a brilliant time, But as I said before, I enjoyed it, every single club I played for, because I love football. I love playing it. I love scoring goals, to not only get the feeling from scoring, but the joy that it gave everybody else. And I think that's something that, as a young player, you need to think about. It's about, doing well, not only for yourself, but for other people, and giving them the enjoyment. But I had a great time at Reading, and scored a hell of a lot of goals. And I just knew that I was I didn't play well every game. Nobody does. You know, you do have your odd game, but for the best part of the time, I produced the goods and was banging him in the back of the net.
Perfect. I think we'll have one more question, Jimmy, if that's okay.
Okay.
We've got one more question for you, and then we can.
Yeah, I have a question.
Hey, Jaffa, go on.
My question is, like, do you miss it, or are you content with where life has brought you now? Are you content with life, the way things are?
Yeah, I'm happy now. You know, I've got a great wife and everything, but obviously you can't turn the clock back. You know, I've enjoyed my time, but you need to move on. I mean, I love to see young players come through, but you know, particularly the teams. I have a lot to do with a lot of the teams I play for. I've done quite a few of these interviews, and you know, I'm very interested in the young players coming through the system. I love to see young players doing well, and I love to see teams that play young players. You know, because if you as a manager or a coach have got faith in young players, they'll always reward you, and they'll always, you know, hopefully come through and sometimes surprise you as well. You know, and with the level of coaching that's available today, I think the world's your oyster. You know, if you know, a lot of my training when I was a kid, I had to do on my own and pick the odd bit up here and there. But there's so many with the internet and everything else. There's so much you can pick off that, and you know, to become a, you know, as good as you want to be. But yeah.
Perfect. Well, Jimmy, that was really insightful. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story with our current students.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries.
Thanks a lot, Jimmy.
Cheers,
nice
Mark.
To see you again. Nice to see you again. Take care.
And you, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, very
Very
much.
much, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Cheers.
Thank you.